Hello, Directory Inquiries. Could you put me through to the Moxie Hotel in Slough, please? Hello, Jamie? Richard? It's Chris. Chris Dale, yeah. Look, I'm sorry I'm not there to do the randomizer, but I might be a little bit late. Why? Well, do you remember that book I was talking about? The book you were looking for? Well, I have it. It's right here in my hand. Look, it's called The Chronicles of Raddech, The Crystal of Light. By Ellis Pagan, yeah. No, I've never heard of him either, but who cares about that? It's a cracking read, and I bet by the end you'll definitely have heard of him. Well, of course I'm not plugging the book. Those days are over, buddy. I'm Chris Dale, international megastar. I've worked with Trevor Howard. I don't have to plug a stupid book. Sorry about that. Now, it's about a young pig farmer called Kiki who lives in the land of Raddech and dreams of being a hero. Yes, and she finds herself leading a real-life quest when Queen Elnora asks her to find the fabled Crystal of Light and restore balance to her homeworld with the help of a young messenger boy and elfin musician. They're aided by a wyvern, a wizard, and other beings. Well, yeah, like Lord of the Rings, but for children. Oi, what are you implying? In the beginning, there was light in the land of Raddech. There was the light of the day and the night, of winds and plants, and of life. And for the first beings who had crawled agonizingly out of the land's primordial mud to crouch in caves from the long nights, there was always light in their hearts. Then, gradually, time passed, and a civilization was built up in Raddech, consisting of many lands and many different people, all ruled by a kind and wise queen. This queen's name was Elnora of the Elfen Ring. Some of her people were good, and some were bad. In fact, some were downright evil, particularly in the case of Mordon, the self-proclaimed Lord of Darkness. He hated the light that surrounded Raddech and wanted to rid the land of said light. An impossible task, many will say, but one that Mordon attempted to carry out multiple times. It eventually got to the point where Elnora was made aware of Mordon's plots by her messenger. So, to help protect the light of Raddech, she ordered her white wizard, Exegus, to create a dodecahedral crystal with magical properties. The crystal was entrusted with the most loyal and brave beings in the land, the Gremlins, and thus was born the legend of the Crystal of Light. For countless centuries, the power of the Crystal of Light ensured that the light of Raddech, and Raddech itself, was protected. Alas, that time would eventually come to an end. Nobody is sure how it happened, but Mordon eventually pulled off a great heist on the Crystal of Light, stealing it from its sanctuary. An eternal twilight descended upon Raddech, gripping the land in darkness. Chaos and evil walked abroad from there on. Thunder, lightning and rain replaced the sun-soaked skies that had been omnipresent in Raddech from its very beginning. Parts of the land became derelict. But all was not lost, for another legend foretold of a champion who would step forward, rescue the sacred crystal, and save the world in a last act of hope. That was in the beginning. Of course, the group also have to contend with goblins, their own fears, and Mordon, the Lord of Darkness, who stole the crystal in the first place. It's basically a battle between good and evil, but this really is glorious stuff. I need the two of you to perform for me a task of unimaginable danger. It was supposed to be for Kiki only, but I'm sure you, dear Lou, can accompany her. After all, I believe you are the only people who can do it. Do you accept? Of course, said Kiki and Lou at the same time. Very well, said Elnora. Kiki, you will act as leader on this quest. Lou shall be your accomplice, for everything works better as a team. Kiki and Lou listened to what Elnora had to say. It is just as well that we are in the kitchen. This room is the home of the Wall of Ages. Look unto it, so that you may see what I want you to do. Elnora pointed to the wall just by where she, Kiki and Lou were sitting. This was the Wall of Ages, which could show any type of vision at Elnora's command. With a wave of her hand, a silhouette of a horned skeletal figure wearing a cloak and riding a horse appeared on the wall. You're no doubt aware of the Crystal of Light, said Elnora. This is who stole it from its chamber, a black-hearted devil known as Mordon. He is more darkness than man. So he does exist, thought Kiki. Elnora waved her hand again, and the vision of Morden was replaced by one of the crystal. "The crystal is sacred to Raddech," Elnora continued, "which is why you must rescue it and save our world." Once again, Elnora waved her hand. The vision of the crystal was replaced by one of a map of Raddech. It is rumoured that the crystal is imprisoned in Morden's halls of darkness, and the dead wraiths, the goblins, and Morden's evil dragon Thingar will stop at nothing to try and prevent you from getting there. As she continued, each location she listed was marked on the map vision. To get there, you must find your way to the deserted underworld, through mountain passes, beyond the waters of death, to the Crystal of Light's chamber, and finally to the very gates of Morden's halls. Once inside, you, dear Kiki, will go inside and weaken the spell that holds the halls in a stronghold. That will allow Lou to get inside too. Kiki looked confused. "Me?" she asked. "But why?" Elnora pointed her staff at the golden locket that Kiki was wearing. "That locket of yours, are you aware of what it does?" Said Kiki. "I think it's just on there for decoration. I've had it for as long as I can remember." "It is not just a locket," replied Elnora. "It is a protection against black magic. You will not be able to use that sort of magic, but you will be immune to anything that Morden tries to do to you as long as you wear this." Kiki looked at the locket and opened it. Inside, there was a picture of her parents, just as they were when they were alive. Next to the picture was some writing, which read, "With love." "But why do you know this?" asked Kiki. "Because," Elnora began, "I was the one who enchanted it. Your parents had it made to give to you when you were born. On their deathbed, they did not want you to suffer the same fate that they had. They wanted to ensure that if Morden ever came for you, you would be prepared, which is where I came in. In fact, I'm impressed that it has lasted all this time." Kiki continued to look at the locket. Elnora waved her hand, and the Raddech map was replaced by a vision of a silhouette of a rotting skeleton, which looked like it had been part of the Elnora's Order thing Penelope had been talking about yesterday. "Many have perished on this quest," said Elnora in a calm but haunting tone, "and become enslaved to the powers of darkness, undead warriors in Morden's army." Kiki and Lou were disgusted at the sight. "Ew, yuck," remarked Lou. "He reminds me of my dead granny." Queen Elnora looked at him, eyes as cold as ice. "Now is not the time to make jokes," she said, waving her hand once more. The vision of the undead warrior disappeared and was replaced by a silhouette of a white-bearded, dark-skinned man with long white hair, and holding both a long wooden staff and a blue book. A book of magic spells. Were it not for his outfit, he would certainly have passed for Father Christmas. "I will grant Exegius, the White Wizard, my permission for him to help you when you reach the waters of death," Elnora continued. "But even he cannot help you in the halls of darkness." Kiki then remembered something. "Hold on," interrupted Kiki. "The deserted underworld is where people go after they die, isn't it?" "It is." "So why do we need to go there?" "Alas," began Elnora, "the waters of death are guarded by a fierce goblin lord." Elnora waved her hands, and the silhouette of Exegius was replaced by that of a giant goblin, the Goblin Lord. He was an ugly old brute who, unlike his fellow goblins, who only wore a tattered brown loincloth around their waist, was dressed from head to toe in royal regalia. "He can only be pacified with a golden goblet, an object which can only be found in the deserted underworld," Elnora continued. "If you can somehow get to the underworld and find this goblet, the Goblin Lord may let you pass." Kiki and Lou looked at each other. "But then again," said Elnora, "he may not. You can never tell with goblins." Elnora waved her hands for the final time, and the Goblin Lord's silhouette faded to be replaced by nothing. The visions on the Wall of Ages had disappeared. The Queen had felt it was now time for Kiki and Lou to begin their adventure, but before they went, Kiki had one question for her. How will we get into the deserted underworld without dying? Alas, said Elnora for the second time, I know not, but perhaps Sabrine, the water nymph, may be able to help. You must find her cavern, where she will give you water that will send you to Limbo. Is that where they do the dancing? No, Elnora continued, it is the border between life and death. You can access the underworld from it. And how? There is no time for any more questions. Queen Elnora stood up from her chair and went back to the throne room. Kiki and Lou followed her and stopped as she sat down in her throne. Your adventure awaits, but remember this. Kiki and Lou were now all ears. Only when you, dear Kiki, have found and touched the crystal can light return to our land and good triumph over evil once more. Touch it quickly, for handling it can kill mere mortals like you. Kiki, asked Lou, taken aback. But what about... Be brave, friends. Go, now. You will love it, man. Love it. Well, I certainly love it. What do you mean, not like that? Jamie, you said you relied on me for my good taste. Huh. I've got a good mind not to get you any presents this Christmas. Yes, Ellis Pagan did write it. Look him up, will you? Read The Chronicles of Raddech, The Crystal of Light, an Ellis Pagan book for Amazon and available as an ebook, hardback or paperback.